Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Well, no matter where you are, is it hot enough for you? Jeez, what a sweater it is this summer. My goodness, keep yourself hydrated. And to help make things a little bit cooler, we got a great cool guest this week, a good friend of ours, Pape, a voice actor, a master of ADR, you all know what that is, a longtime friend and co-founder of the Don LaFontaine SAG Voiceover Lab. And he's got some great info for us, and he'll join us live.
I'll be talking about equalizing, tone control, EQ, whatever you call it. I'll tell you why you should use it, when you shouldn't, and how it's best set up. It's a bit of a challenge, but maybe I can help you.
And in my tip of the week, I have some decisions to make about my home studio, so we'll be going over some of those criteria.
We also have questions from our viewers, and we've got a little segment at the end of the show by Bob Merkel of VoiceZam, so check that out.
Absolutely. Very good information. And we have a new working chat room that you'll be able to figure out very easily when you go to EWABS.com to watch the show. You just click on Chat Now and you'll be there. So join us Sunday night live at 9 p.m. in the East.
And 6 o'clock in the West.
We'll see you there.
He's the home voiceover studio engineer to the stars in Los Angeles, California. A Virginia Tech grad whose knowledge of the latest recording gear is second to none. He's a voice actor and the home studio master, hailing from Buffalo, New York. His home studio skills and knowledge of voiceover recording is unmatched. When Dan and George talk shop, people listen, and the talk continues tonight. Welcome to East-West Audio Body Shop. And now, live from his high-tech facility in Santa Monica and his penthouse studio in Buffalo, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Good evening. If you haven't figured it out yet, am Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we definitely are East-West Audio Body Shop. Well, we've made it again. Well, just about 7 minutes late. But on EWABS time. See, there's Jewish time, there's West Coast time, and then there's EWABS time.
Where do we fall in? Somewhere in the middle?
Somewhere in the middle there, I think. But, we'll get going when we get going. That's the way
right.
It works. Anyway, so we've got a great show for you tonight, and finally it cooled off here in the East. For those of you that are living in the East, which is a good many of you.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we had a huge thunderstorm come through here the other day. I mean, it was a light show for like 3-4 hours, and it rained, which is great because the lawn needed it. But there was this huge willow tree around the corner from here, split right down the middle. Never saw anything like it.
Oof. Scary.
I'm thinking it might have been a microburst or a small tornado or something like that. But who cares? It's cooler now.
I remember that. That's the thing. Yeah, the thunderstorm comes in to like reset the weather, slate clean, and you get like this clean, crisp air, and
it's like somebody takes a squeegee to the air.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. So anyway, so here we are at East-West Audio Body Shop, one of our second last Sunday night show. Say it's true, yes, because we're going to move to Monday night starting August 5th. But even more importantly, and I see there's a bunch of you in there, if you haven't figured it out yet, we have a new chat room. And a lot of you are in there. This is going to be great because now I have everything I need on one screen.
How cool is that? I love the new chat room. I'm glad we found something that it was built into Wix, our website host, and it's working great.
Yeah. So if you're not in the chat room, go over to ewabs.com and you can watch the show from there. It says chat. It says how does it say it?
There's a button that says chat now.
It says, first it says live stream and chat. And then right above where the show is, it says chat now. And if you just click that, it doesn't get any easier than that.
Yep. You can log in using twistedwave. You can log in using Twitter, Facebook, or just create a special login just for this.
That's right. And give us your name, put your name in there, not something weird.
So this is why you watch the show live, so you can be in the chat room. It makes it a lot more fun.
Makes it interactive, and that's why we're here.
Yep.
And speaking of interactive, we have a great guest tonight, someone who's been with us before, and we're going to talk about some completely fresh stuff, though. Well, the last time he was with us when we were in the Don LaFontaine lab last year, and Paul Pape will be with us.
Should we say hi to him now? He's hanging out with us.
He's hanging out. He can chime in when he feels like it. So just angle over the camera a little bit. There
he is.
I'm here. EWAB time, right? Is that what it is, Brian?
Paul was way on time.
I'm usually on soft shell crab time, but
Paul was completely on time.
Yeah.
Good guest, Paul. Good guest.
Thank
you. Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for joining us tonight. And again, feel free to to interject at any time.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, we're just talking way over your head.
Yeah.
Which usually George is doing to me and I'm doing over him, and it's like somehow we meet in the middle.
I'm not going to try to compete with that. So.
Okay. Probably not a bad idea. Anyway, I've got a new camera angle tonight.
Oh, yeah, I like it. I do like it. I like the variety.
Yes, I mean this is more the homey part of my studio. I mean we've got my old microphones, and I've got my old radio, my 1938 Feta floor console model, which still works. Of course, it only picks up one station, and I think it's just because it's the loudest thing out there. And even if it didn't work, it would come over this thing. But it's a reminder of where we come from. At least some of us in the voiceover business.
Well, I don't know why, but now it looks like you're almost being lit by the sun directly. You're extremely bright. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was when you changed shirts. All of a sudden, things went crazy.
I can adjust this. Okay, I got to call the lighting.
There we go. Here. Perfect. No.
There we go. How's that?
It's better. Yeah, it's a little better. Yeah, you're not so overexposed.
That's good. Ooh. Now what? Well, we've got lots of technical stuff to talk about tonight because that's what we're here for.
None of it's lighting either. We're not supposed to be talking about lighting.
We're not supposed to talk about lighting. It just seems to happen that way. I mean, I'm going to improve the lighting as the night goes on. It's a new shot. I got to figure it out.
Experiment, yeah.
That's right. Hold on a second. Yeah. All right. Turn them up a little bit. There we go.
Sun is on.
That's a little bit brighter. But anyway, I digress. We got a couple things to talk about. I know you want to talk about something that is an utter mystery to most, and that's EQ. And my tip of the week, we're going to talk about some decisions I had to make about my home studio. And then Paul Pape will join us, and we'll just shoot the breeze, as they like to say.
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
sure who they are, but I guess we'll talk to them too. Anyway, let's get into the meat of the matter tonight. You were going to talk about equalization, or EQ.
Yeah, or tone control. You remember the old stereo systems, speaking of old radios, the old stereos where you had, sometimes you even only had one knob, tone, which means good luck. You better hope that it's going to work for your purposes. Usually right was treble and left was bass. Then you can go a little more sophisticated, have two separate knobs, a treble and a bass knob, which gives you a little more control. That's what your typical home stereo has, and sometimes car stereos. Sometimes they throw in a mid-range control if you got a really fancy car stereo. But equalizing gives you, at least in the terms of software, you've got a lot more control when you're using a software-based EQ. You can really get in there and get into some real detail and adjust the sound with a lot of precision. But let's first talk about why. Why do you need to use EQ, and do you always need to use it? It's definitely a case-by-case basis. So, for example, when somebody sends me an audio sample that they've recorded in their booth, I do ask them to send it flat with no processing. I just want to hear what's going on in that space. Is it boomy? Is it boomy? By boomy, do I mean is there a lot of resonance where it goes woo, woo, woo when someone talks? Or is it
talking under your desk? Is sort of what it sounds like.
Yeah. Or is it sibilant? And sibilance is where you have way too much brightness on the microphone, where it starts to come apart because it's overly edgy and sibilant. Where's my sibilance knob here? 1, 2, 3. That should be. Is that it? Is that the sibilance knob? Is that the sibilance knob? No, there it is. Sibilance. Maybe it's overly sibilant and really bright and edgy. Yuck, right? Ooh. So depending on the situation, you may have to correct for that. In an ideal world, you would do it all with a perfect acoustical treatment. You would pick the right microphone and spend months and months researching, experimenting with microphones and all this stuff. But in the real world, in a home studio, we rarely have the opportunity to do all those things perfectly. So we work with what we got. And a lot of times the problems you're facing can be dealt with using EQ. Now, there's a few kinds of EQ. There's a graphical EQ, and I'm going to bring these up on the screen here so you can actually see what I'm talking about. I'm just going to use the ease and simplicity of twisted wave since it's what I use day to day. That way you guys can see it a little bit more clearly. And I'll bring that shot up. And I will pop open a couple EQs for you guys to see here. There we go. So sometimes you might want to use a graphic equalizer, and sometimes you might want to use what we call a parametric equalizer. So I will show you the differences. Let's open up a raw file here. All right. And then I'll show you why they're different and how they work differently from each other. So I'll go to Effects and bring up my audio units. And I'll bring up the graphic EQ. And I will bring up the parametric equalizer. Now, these processor plugins look different on different computers, different software manufacturers. They all have different interfaces, which can make it a little challenging to figure out how one translates against another. But we'll start with the graphic EQ because it's probably the most common and is most often found between different softwares, so it shouldn't be too difficult. So with the graphic equalizer, you have control over a pretty wide spectrum of sound, from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, which is theoretically the range of human hearing. And you can go in here, and in this particular case, with this graphic equalizer, you have a 31 band EQ. So you can adjust everything from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz in what are called 1/3 octave increments. And so what I often find with a graphic EQ that's really useful for is I use it for tone shaping. So let's say you want it to sound a little bit more sizzly and add a little bit more brightness. I might add a little bit of treble here. And let's say there's a little bit of sibilance around 8 kilohertz. I might cut a little bit at that frequency range there. Now, how do I know what frequencies I'm supposed to be using? This is where kind of the voodoo or the experience of being an engineer comes in. It really comes down to ear training but experimentation. It's something you can learn. But the only way you're going to learn the effects of all these controls is to actually use them on a sound and listen to them, adjust them, and see what changes as you adjust them. I also will use the graphic equalizer a lot to just use it as what's called a high-pass filter. So let's say we want to remove everything from a certain frequency down, and which often is the case, we want to remove rumble. Some of you have a microphone with a high-pass filter switch, but many of us don't. So if you want to remove that rumble range that's way below the range of your voice, I'll immediately go into my EQ and just knock out the bottom octave or so from 80 and down. Now, if your room is really boomy, you might even remove some of 80 as well. But it really depends on the room and your voice as to what you're going to remove. But I'm very careful about how much I boost with a graphic EQ, okay? I don't add much because when you add too much, it gets out of control really quickly. And sometimes if you don't trust your ears, you may add something that you don't expect to be there later. So be real careful when you add stuff. It's better to subtract than it is to add a lot with using EQ. So that's what the graphic equalizer looks like, and I do use it a lot. And now I'll show you a version of a parametric equalizer. This is unique to not Adobe Audition, but this is actually kind of unique to Twisted Wave and the Apple Audio Units plugins. So this is the same plugin that you'll see on any Apple program like Logic, GarageBand, anything that can support audio units, you'll have this. So with this particular parametric equalizer, you've got, just as a very simple one, it only has one frequency that you can control, okay? But as you can see, you can adjust precisely what frequency you want to adjust, how much up and down you want to control it by. But what makes it really powerful is you have control over this thing called the Q. And the Q is how wide of a curve you're adjusting. It's sort of a bell curve. So what I find a parametric equalizer really handy for is if the room is very boomy. Most small studios or booths will have a frequency that it kind of resonates at. It kind of has this boomy sound. So what I'll do is I'll end up playing back the audio and figuring out where that frequency is. Now, the sample I have queued up here is probably not a good one because it was recorded in a studio using Studio Suite. So it doesn't really have much in the way of a node or a bass resonant frequency because Studio Suite does a pretty good job. But let's see if we can hear.
On the day when the warning of the Scarlet Scorpion came to Richard Wentworth, he was enjoying one of the few
You getting an echo?
Not anymore.
Yeah, let's do this.
periods of relaxation that fell in an overclouded overcrowded.
Now let me play back a little bit of this and let me adjust the parametric equalizer and let you guys hear what's going on as I adjust it. So I'll start with it flat, and I'm going to use it around 140, 150 hertz, which is a real common frequency problem, and I'll boost it as I'm playing it back here.
He was fencing with keen, naked sabers before a gallopy of friends in the gymnasium that occupied half the second floor of his fortified mansion between Sutton Place and the East River. He was fencing with keen, naked sabers before a gallopy of friends.
Now, one thing I like to do is there's always a frequency that we kind of call like that chest resonant frequency that really gives it some beef. And if you can find it, sometimes giving a little boost at that frequency can be flattering. So let's see if we can find it.
In the gymnasium that occupied half the second floor of his fortified mansion between Sutton Place and the East River. He was fencing with keen, naked sabers before a gallopy of friends.
For him, it seems to be maybe around 100 hertz, okay? But maybe that's a frequency that doesn't work well. Maybe that's just too... let me drag this into the window so you can see what I'm doing. Maybe that's a frequency that's a problem in that room. So if it was a problem frequency, that when you're sliding it back and forth, all of a sudden, there'd be this one tone that just sort of jumps out at you. Just gets real boomy and muddy. And when that happens, you can immediately... Instead of boosting this frequency, you can cut it and turn it down.
In the gymnasium.
Now, if you really want to get precise, you can go in here and you can adjust this thing called the Q. And the Q on the parametric equalizer in Apple audio units, the maximum setting is 20. So if I type in 20, enter, now you'll see the little valley, this little curve here, is very narrow, but that's a very precise control now. Now, listen what happens as I slide it around.
It occupied half the second floor of his fortified mansion between Sutton Place and the East River. He was fencing with keen, naked sabers before a gallopy of friends in the gymnasium.
Sounds like you're tuning an old radio or something, right?
Really?
But it's really cool because now you can find a frequency that really jumps out at you as you slide it along. You don't have to have super duper ears to hear a frequency that really stands out. So when you find something that really is not, it's kind of coloring the sound, it's kind of offensive, you can then, once you figure out what it is, then cut it instead of boosting it. That's a tool I use. That's a technique I use all the time. I don't have perfect pitch. I don't know when a frequency that I hear is 193 hertz. I have to kind of find it. And so that's how I find it. I'll boost it till I find where that frequency kind of jumps out at me, and then I'll cut it away. So anyway, I can go into a lot more about EQ. I just want to give you guys a general overview of what the two kinds that are most common are and how I tend to use them. And I hope that gives you guys a little bit of a primer on EQ.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and it's also important to remember that there's some presets there too. As you're
there are some presets sometimes,
and sometimes I'll just recommend try this preset. Try looking at it this way and try it that way. Listen to the difference and then learn to play with it that way. That's the best way to do that.
We also call notching, like when you take a slice out of it. Right. We also call that notching. Somebody in the chat room mentioned that. That's a really good term to use. Notch filtering.
Yes, not to be confused with noshing.
Right. So anyway, I've gone on too long already.
I wasn't going to say a word. I'm generally very careful about that, but we'll talk about that next week. Yeah. Anyway, we've got lots more coming up tonight. We've got, my tip of the week. Paul Pape is with us. You can take another shot of Paul. He can wave.
He's being very patient over here.
He is. He's a patient guy. Putting up with us for all this. Raise Dan's mic level. Is that better, Roy?
Is it low? Talk to me.
Low? Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's a couple dB low. There we go.
Okay. I mean, I can turn it up. I mean, I can make it really loud if you want.
No.
I'm not going to do that. I can adjust the EQ too. See, now everything's right in reach now. So
see, if you watch the show live, you get to call the shots on how we mix the show,
That's
on what
right.
shots we use. You get to call the shots. It's fun.
That's cool.
What other show can you do that on?
I don't think there's any.
Nope.
And that's why we're still here after 103 episodes.
That's
but
right.
Big things coming up. Anyway, we'll be right back with a few more things coming up. Lots more stuff here in East West Audio Body Shop. So don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are.
VO Studio Tech. Recording made simple.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
This is Jim Tasker from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
Hi, this is Joe Szymanski.
Hey, this is Rick Robles.
Hi, my name is John Patrick Armstrong.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish him.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
Et voilà, this is East West Audio Body Shop with Dan Leonard in the East and George Whittam in the West. Merci. Et maintenant, back to the show.
Buonasera. See, I jumped into the Italian there. So I got so used to speaking all these different languages when I was in Europe a couple weeks ago. It's like
trying to speak different languages.
I actually did fairly well, but my son Louis, who speaks 4 different languages, was great in Spain.
Did they actually speak English back to him when the second he opened his mouth? That's the test.
No, well, sometimes when they would finish talking, they would say, "That's very good." So they realized, yeah, but he's very good, and he's really. The thing is when we were in Valencia, we were there for 12 hours. Somehow he got on the internet there, on his iPhone, and found the course, the summer session, the summer program he wants to go to next summer. So Mom and Dad have another excuse to go to Spain next year.
Well,
the food.
Just sit back and relax. It's time for some announcements.
Well,
every week I wonder where that voice comes from.
It's around here somewhere.
Did I do that? Oh yeah, I clicked that button.
You did do that. Anyway. All right, what do we got in the announcements tonight? All sorts of stuff. Take the survey. If you haven't done it yet, I don't know, where we just living under a rock somewhere. Look for it in the group. Look in the group for the link. That's the Facebook group, right?
Yeah, it's right on the EWABS.com on the front page.
Oh, there it is. All right.
How hard
click on that. Take the survey. Even if you've taken it once, take it again, because I'll bet your opinions have changed since then, if you're like most American voters. Well, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, so we'll save it. But the DLF Voiceover Lab Poker Classic is August 24th. You can find info at sagfoundation.org. But Paul's going to talk about that, so we'll just move on because we're running late here anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Next week, if you thought this episode, even though it's only 20 minutes old, is the greatest episode you've ever seen, it's certainly the best show we've done today. Next week, we will be live in Irvine, California, from the residence of Anne Ganguzza, which I guess is VoiceOver Peeps Central.
That's right, VO Peeps, baby.
And we're going to have like 40 people there and great food, and we got some great stuff planned for next week.
It's going to be fun.
I'm actually going to be there. I'm coming out to California this week. And so if anybody wants to see me, I'll be holding court at I'm actually planning. I may actually have to make a few house calls there. People are like, well, can you help me? I'm like, well, I might actually be in Southern California. Really? I'm like, okay. People, I'm just a regular guy. I just happen to know, twist this, turn that, plug that in. It's nothing special about that. But I will make some house calls. Maybe George and I will make some, guest house calls. The two of us together.
Yeah,
I know.
We're looking forward to like interviewing people like Wes Dooley. I'm hoping we get to meet him. He's one of the microphone gurus from way back. He runs a ribbon microphone company out of Pasadena.
Yeah,
called AEA.
AEA. Next week, Sunday night, same time, same bat channel, but we're going to be together out in Irvine. George and I don't get to do the show together a whole lot because he's there and I'm here, but next week we get to do it. And we get to have Anne with us, which makes it even more pleasant. So, anyway, that's next Sunday night. And then starting August 5th, and we'll talk about this next week, of course, we're going to be on Monday nights, not on Sunday nights. So you guys get your Sunday nights back. How's that sound?
There you go. Well, apparently I made a boo-boo mixing the show. Everybody's saying they weren't getting any audio there for a while, so that was my bad. I don't know, maybe a minute.
Oh,
okay. I know what I did. Okay. I will see. That's why I keep an eye on the chat room, because you guys watch my back.
Yeah.
Apparently the announcements jingle was looping there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it sounded kind of weird.
Yeah, well.
You had no idea what goes into producing this show. I mean, you think we're just lining up in front of webcams, and George is like he's like the Wizard of Oz back there, going like this,
pulling levers.
And I'm knocking over glasses. And those of you who will join us next week at Anne's house and see how we actually do it, there's one of the things we're gonna build a studio suit booth.
I know, right on the spot.
Right on the spot. It's going to boom. It's going to be right up there. All right, cool. Let's see. Oh, so make sure you
like us.
Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. And I never saw anyone use Twitter the way Anne Ganguzza uses Twitter. It's like boom, 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 Twitter. And she's literally twitting away there. It's
tweeting. I think it's the word.
Tweeting away. See, I don't use this stuff.
Twitting is an insult.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Paul, are you a big Twitter?
Well, tweet. Reminds me of the old Monty Python. Remember the National Twit Contest?
Yes. What a great twit!
They staked a rabbit to the ground, and they were trying to shoot it, and they kept missing.
I love it.
Absolutely. Tweetering. Thank you, Gabe. Yeah.
Oh man.
All righty. Anyway, so also remember, if you're not here right now, one, you're not listening to what I'm saying, but two, you can always watch the show afterwards. The replay, all 103 episodes are on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And there's a subscribe to YouTube link at the top of EWABS.com.
It's right there, right up here somewhere, right above chat now.
All
anyway,
right, let's get all this over with so we can get Paul on here. He's being so patient.
Well, but we still have my tip of the week.
Yeah. No, let's do it.
Which is loaded with stuff. So let's take it away to tip of the week. I have a serious decision to make. You'll remember last year, I moved up here into my new studio because it had this great 4.5 by 3.5 foot closet. We went through how I built it, how I installed Studio Suite, how I installed a ventilation system, and how I made it my perfect little closet studio. But now there's another problem. There's lots of stuff going on outside of my house. I have my neighbor Matt, who feels like he has to cut his grass 3 times a week, even in a drought. Planes come overhead. They can be kind of annoying. The UPS truck comes every day at 5:30. I'm usually working around then. And of course, everybody else's lawn has to be cut too by all the lawn services. So the question is, do I need to soundproof this room? Well, how soundproof is it? Well, now that I'm up here, there's no air conditioning or furnace noise. It shuts out most of the noise from the outside. I mean, we're talking birds, lawnmowers, TV sounds. And with the Sennheiser 416 microphone, much of the exterior noise can be lowered to below -50 dB, making it far more usable. Why would I? Well, some of the reasons might not apply to everyone. But for me, first off, ISDN sessions, which really have to be quiet, but I do so few of those. If I did more, perhaps. I have other studios around that have ISDN, and I just have to make a call and go over there. It's a lot cheaper for me to rent time over there than it is to take the time and build a studio that's totally soundproof with ISDN here. Makes more sense. You know something? I usually convince my clients to trust my audio in my studio. and just listen on Skype or the phone. You have to have confidence in what you do, and you have to have confidence in your studio, which of course I do. Long format material. Mostly I do individual slide stuff for e-learning, so I can be very, very patient with it. Audiobooks, I'm not doing them anymore. So it's a matter of cost versus benefit. The cost to do decoupled construction, which is rather sophisticated, involves heavy walls and rock wool insulation and this special resilient channel stuff that allows your walls to actually move and prevent sound from going through it. I estimate it's going to cost $800 to $1,000, and I'm going to need help doing it. Time. I'm figuring even with a small room like this, it's going to take at least a week. Can I record here in my main studio? Maybe. So I've decided to keep thinking about it. Look, no one complains, and if I need total silence, I have access to other facilities. This is a home studio, and that's what it means. It minimally interferes with home, and home minimally interferes with it. Look, I'm alone all day. It's quiet at night. When there's noise, I'm patient. I don't let people put pressure on me. I know my limitations, my own good estimates of time required, and I commit to that which I know I can complete. Now, some people who work high budget all day, are on call 24/7, they need a soundproof facility where they'll never be bothered by outside sound. They can afford it and need to maintain that pace. For the rest of us, we work to get there. And when we do, we invest appropriately. Look, it's not the facility that gets you the work. It's working and practicing and earning that great facility. And that includes a soundproof booth. And that's my tip of the week. So I was thinking maybe I should just do it as a demonstration project, but I don't have a whole heck of a lot of time this summer. I mean, I'm going to California next week. I was in Europe for a couple of weeks, and am I going to have the time to really do it? And it's right now it's not really necessary. In the future, if it becomes necessary, I'll do it. And that's the thing. You get great equipment to get work. You work to get great equipment. When you need it, that's when you invest in it.
Yeah, make adjustments when you need to make them. It's like having a business. It's like running a business where you have a business plan and you that's say, right. Well, I'm going to have the budget to make this big purchase in 6 months to a year. Speaking from experience, actually, I've never made a business plan my entire life.
Oh, I have.
I wish I should have a long time ago, but that's another story. But anyway, yeah, if you plan for it, then you know when it's time to make the investment. And then when all of a sudden you get that client calls, the agent says it's time, you pull out the credit card and make the investment in the ISDN or Source Connect or whatever it is you have to do.
Right. And I still think that I could get away with it. That 416 just makes a huge difference. It really does lower the noise floor, but because it actually keeps out the lawnmowers. That was important. Two times of the year, it's really bad. Mid-spring, when the grass comes out of dormancy and everybody's cutting their lawn 3-4 times a day, and some with the nail clippers, and then there's fall when they're blowing leaves.
Right.
And that's there's like about a 2-week period at the beginning of and the end of each season there that it's really, really bad. And that's why I'm like, I think I'm going to do this. And then winter came and it's dead silent out there. So, I guess I don't need to do this now. Anyway, but we babble on. And instead of going to Babylon, we need to have Pape join us in just a couple of minutes. Right. And he's got lots of cool stuff to share with us and more to come up here on East West Audio Body Shop. So stay right where you are.
Welcome back. We call it EWABS. Dan and George call it the only way to spend Sunday night.
There's some nights we have another word for it. But anyway, but not tonight. I think we've solved some major technical issues here. The new chat room is working great.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, so everybody in the chat room, you can applaud. I just, it's like, put, parentheses together. That's how you applaud. That's how I do it anyway. Because that's working really, really well. Anyway.
Loving it.
Speaking of working well, here's a guy that's working a lot. And he works hard, and he is a great friend of ours here on East West Audio Body Shop. And he is joining us live in the studio. Great guy. Paul Pape, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Last year you were with us over at the Don LaFontaine lab, and we were in what appeared to be like an actual TV studio. But the lighting was perfect. But now we're in our normal setting here. So welcome to the show. What you been up to lately?
Well, we've been lately I've been, in addition to work, doing a lot of ADR, a lot of films, that kind of thing, political spots. I've been very involved in political spots the last two years or so, which is a new field for me. And then also at the foundation, keeping the lab going, and we're putting together the Poker Classic come August 24th, which we're pretty excited about. It's going to be a bigger night than we've ever had so far.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about ADR last time you were on the show, but tell us again what ADR is for those of us who are new to the show and didn't hear what that's about and don't know what ADR is.
It stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement. Some people think it means automatic dialogue recording. There's a lot of different things people come up with. In the old days, it was called WALA. It was background sound. It was something that was created to fill in to create an environment, a sound environment in a film. It's still done for that reason, only it's become far more sophisticated. And every film, when they shoot principal photography, you have the principal actors need to keep their dialogue pristine in order for it to be mixed in correctly. So you can't have a lot of ambient sound. So that's why ADR was developed, to bring in background vocal effects, not just background people at a restaurant in the background, but all the various vocal needs that a picture needs, just like it needs sound effects. And so they hire actors, groups of actors, who will come in, who have the skill to improv, who have the ability to do sync, who have the ability to do voice replacement, voice matching. We can be called to do any number of things during a day. So it really takes acting with your voice. And with the improvements in sound technology, it's even more exacting now because everything is heard. I was just doing another interview recently, and I said it's not about peas and carrots anymore and saying anything in the background because everything is very specific. So what you're basically doing, ADR actors are called upon to do to create a vocal environment for a film or production or a television show.
I got to stop you on the peas and carrots thing.
Sure.
What is that?
Peas and carrots,
peas and carrots.
Yeah, that was just something. Back in the days of WALA, they would want it to be nondescript. So they would have people literally in the background going peas and carrots, because when sound mixed, when it was mixed in, if you were, if I was just,
if you had 7 or 8 people saying that,
peas and carrots, if everybody's saying that over each other, it just sounds like a big mosh of sound. Well, you can't get away with that today because the technology is so good.
The resolution, the speak surrounds, it would stand out.
Yeah, if you were in a movie theater with 7-1 surround or whatever, that kind of pristine digital quality, you're going to hear what people. So now what you say has become far more important and far more pertinent to the picture itself.
And most of that's improvised.
Most all of it's improvised. Well, we have to do research. Sometimes we'll have, if I'm doing a news report or something, I'll read copy, or we'll be doing news report. And I was saying that I just finished doing Parkland, Tom Hanks's new film. Which was the hospital. Parkland was the hospital that John F. Kennedy was taken to after he was assassinated. And we needed to create an environment of 1960s Dallas. So we had Dallas police officers with Texas accents. We had Secret Service and FBI agents who were from Washington.
So you're playing back regional. Some material from the net and researching?
We're creating all voices? That. Yeah, we had to... We went so far as to, in order to do the police radio calls that we had to do, we got the exact transcripts from that day. We were actually doing the police chatter that was back and forth with the actual police transcripts from that. And it had to be done with a Texas accent. There's other times I've done I did an Irish accent all through The Lone Ranger because I was one of the foremen on the railroad. And these are just all part of the matrix, the sound matrix. And it all adds authenticity. You couldn't have, 20 years ago, that kind of detail wasn't needed. Today it is, because it will poke through. So ADR actors have to be very up on their research. They've got to be able to improvise. There's a lot required of them, just like there is of us when we do regular voiceovers now.
Yeah, but it's a highly specialized area, and of course, it's. I guess it's somewhat geographically advantageous to some and not to others.
Well, there's Los Angeles still post-production wise is probably still the capital of it. There's a fair amount done in New York. Chicago has a certain amount. Canada has tried with a lot of film production going up there. I think
Toronto,
they're succeeding to some degree. London has a pretty good base of it in England, but I would have to say, if this is a field you're interested in, you'd want to come to Los Angeles, but it's tricky. It's and this isn't to throw anybody off because I give everybody help. It's tricky to get into this field because you can't go to a class and learn it. You figure out a way to get in, and you either sort of have those skills or you don't, and it shows pretty quickly. People that improvise well, it's just one of those unique skill sets. But it's one that's increasingly important. So it always needs fresh blood.
Yeah. Well, now changing subjects a little bit because you're also in another venture. You're a busy guy. I mean, I know what that's like. But you have a new production company. Originally, it was Red Wall, and now you have a new company called New Trails Productions. Now, a lot of successful actors start their own production companies. What's got you into doing that, and what exactly are you doing with New Trails?
Well, this has been a dream of mine for a long time. I've wanted to have a production company for a long time, and being successful in voiceovers has kind of given me the opportunity now to take a crack at it. Red Wall was kind of the startup phase. We optioned about 3 or 4 books and developed some of them into screenplays and started to package some of them. We produced several short films. In fact, Don and I produced one called Interrogation together. I don't know, George actually here did the sound. That's where I met George. And it was one of these pilot projects for that, it takes almost as much work to put on a short as it does a feature by the time you get it all together. So, and George could tell you that. But, we wanted to use these as groundbreaking play with some of these ideas. So Red Wall turned out to be our testing ground of where we wanted to go and the kind of stuff we wanted to do. It has eventually evolved now. I've remodified the whole business model, and that's what New Trails is all about. Because of our contacts now, we're now chasing about 17 different projects. And we're bringing in people, 6 Academy Award nominees and winners. We've got Emmy winners. We've got directors. We've got writers. We have studio development executives. And the whole point is to try to put together a package that we can then bring as a whole to help somebody sell a project. In other words, it's not just trying to sell a script to somebody to get it made. It's actually, we can offer the whole package to the investor, which requires a whole new business model. You were talking about business plans before. It requires business plans. So we've got, I've got people working with me on that regard because that's not my strength. But I'm basically overlooking creative production, and I've got a partner, Lincoln Lageson, who's line produced probably over 60 films now. He's handling the physical aspects of it. So we're now bringing all these various talents to bear because we've been around long enough that we know people, and hopefully it's going to produce some really good things, and create voiceover work for some people too along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the most important thing is creating jobs. I mean, some people say, well, there's got to be a way to create more jobs.
Right.
Just start more businesses.
Right.
That's how jobs get created.
Not unusual in this day and age, for people to strike out. Look what you guys are doing here. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, and we're making a ton of money doing this. So
got to start somewhere.
You didn't start with a business plan.
Yeah. Well, we had a little bit of a plan, but anyway. So you've also done a little bit of directing lately. Now, we're not really talking much about voiceover. We're sort of talking about the ancillary stuff that's sort of on the perimeter of it. But because you've had a great career in voiceover, like over 5,000 different things that you've done with your voice on them. But you're also directing now, and directing is something I think if somebody's been an actor for a while or a voice actor actor for a while, and they get the idea of, and they get directed a lot. They all feel they can direct. What does it really take to be a director for film, for video, and for voiceover?
I would say the single biggest word is vision. You have to have a very clear idea of what you want to accomplish when you go in. And then you need to surround yourself with the people that can help you get there, who have the chops to do it efficiently, economically, because directors have to be aware, especially when there's a lot of money on the line, of the bottom line of the dollar. I mean, not everybody has the luxury to be a James Cameron, for instance, where they can spend a few $100 million and
build me a ship.
Yeah, we're not always that. I came to it kind of naturally. I came up in the theater. I had a theater degree, and I did a lot of plays, and I just always had a sense that if I went in to do, I directed a lot in college and on the theater and in New York, and it was just a natural extension of that for me. But I've always been sort of blessed, I think, with when I get an idea, I kind of see where I want it to be, and I try to be a benevolent dictator about it, getting there, but sometimes I go over the edge and become a dictator, as George could tell you from our experience with the lab. But
sometimes you have to be.
But the goal is good. I mean, where I'm going for it is, you just have to see what you got to get, and then it's just a matter of how you're going to get there. Getting the right people. You can't do it alone.
Right. And of course you have to, like you said, you have to figure, well, what do other people want, but how do I make it my own, and how do I take this script and turn it into something else? It's a lot of work. It's not just sitting there on the set going, okay, say this, say that. It's a lot of planning.
Actually, that's the gravy. That's the part where
that's the fun part.
Yeah, the fun part. It's just the other day I was having a conversation with my partner about this. It's very important not only to find people that can support you, but also see things the way you're seeing them. It really makes it a lot easier to communicate with somebody. And we're prepping a film right now. It's going to be a 30-minute film about an incident that happened in the 1860s. And it's going to require green screen because it's a fellow's giving testimony. And we want to, instead of recreating what happened back then, we want to shoot second unit footage of what's going on in his mind that's kind of blurring past him in the background while he's testifying. And yet we have to have a jib on a jib camera that's sweeping down along, watching the witnesses as they're talking, because the testimony by itself is kind of boring. But if you see it, how people are reacting in their eyes or what's going through their head, it's a much different thing. So we were discussing how physically we were going to make this happen and what kind of a size space. And he knows all this. We need a movable wall in order to get around this and do all that. So, But as far as seeing what you're going for, if they see it, if you can clearly describe it, maybe that's one thing that voiceovers helps, because I can clearly describe what I want. Then if they get it, then they've got the skill to help you get there. And that it's a team effort, though. It's collaborative.
Yeah, you can teach my wife that. You want me to do what?
Yeah.
Some people just can't communicate quite as well. Most of the time, she's great at it. But yeah, being able to communicate is what we do as voice actors.
That's
and
very true.
You're absolutely correct. If you've got to be able to have that mental picture and be able to relate that out. And some people don't think visually. Mm-hmm. They think very kinesthetically. They have to feel something. But then there's some of us who just they can see it in their head and just make it happen. And I can see where that would be important. Now, we were talking earlier. Now, interesting that you're from my neck of the woods, actually.
Right. I was born in Rochester, New York.
The culture of Rochester is much different than the culture in Buffalo, even though we're only 70 miles apart.
Yeah.
We both have a lake. We both have this, but Rochester had a much more corporate community, and Buffalo was much more of a working class kind of town. So the cultural differences were there. But you went to Brockport, which if anyone is from New York, the SUNY school system. Brockport's a very artsy school, wasn't it?
At that time, yeah.
Yeah.
Before Purchase became the top school for the arts in New York, Brockport was the top school for that. Yeah.
Yeah. But you did a lot of theater, and we were also talking about how theater is a really good thing. If you're a voice actor, maybe it's good to go back and do a play.
Yeah, because of the immediacy, certainly for your vocal chops, I want to back up a second because this ties into this as well. The power, you talk about describing something clearly, Dan, right? The power of the spoken word, people's ability to articulate well, to actually have a love of language and how they describe it. This is one thing Don LaFontaine would drill into me nonstop. A love of the spoken word allows you to articulate your vision that much better. And I think a lot of that gets lost today. We clip everything. We talk in initials. We talk in slang. I think we've kind of lost some of the real power of words in that regard. The theater, going back to this point now, obviously allows you to get up on a stage, and it allows you to exercise your diaphragm, allows you to exercise language you really do need to articulate in order to be understood. A lot of commercial copy that we read today is, non-announcery. They want us laid back. They want us cool. They want us hip. I get all of that, but I think we sometimes we get lazy with our voices. I know I do. I'll trail off at the end of sentences. I won't finish a thought simply because for whatever, I can't be bothered, Right. And getting back on a stage, I think, re-energizes that muscle, re-articulates the instrument. Just like anything else, it has to stay fine-tuned. So when you can, it's good to do. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay as well. Once you've established yourself, it's hard to find the time.
That's true. Yeah. But as a hobby, I mean, if you've got local community theater, if you can get yourself and do a play, it really totally re-energizes the actor part of your soul.
Every time I have a moment, if I can do it, spare the time, I'll go do a play somewhere. I like to do it. I still love to do it, and I love to go see plays too as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got lots more to talk about, but we have to talk about somebody else right now, just for a second.
You betcha.
We'll keep it short. We'll keep it short, but because we'll get back to you. But we do have to talk about Harlan Hogan. Why? Because we just like Harlan. Harlan, you're a great guy.
Oh. Whenever we talk about Harlan, the fire trucks come. Okay. I don't know what it is. His products are that hot.
That's right.
Did you catch that one?
Good one. I got that. That's one for you. 18 for me.
I need some wine with that cheese.
There you go. Harlan Hogan has VoiceOver Essentials. Great website if you are a voice actor and you need to get the right equipment. You're just starting out, which I know a lot of you are. How do I get the right stuff? Go over to voiceoveressentials.com and just buy all his stuff. That's the way to do it. No, I mean, take a look at it. You know what I always say about retail? Never walk into a retail place not knowing what you want.
Yeah.
Harlan's already figured that out for you. If you go over to voiceoveressentials.com, he's got the right microphone. He's got the right, the Portabooth Pro. If you're on the road, it's a whole nother deal. He's got, of course, the new headphones, the Signature Series headphones. Plus a lot of other cool stuff and a lot of great books. So if you want to get the best stuff and not have to worry if it's the best stuff for you, for your budget, go over to voiceoveressentials.com and tell him that George and Dan sent you specifically.
Please let him know. He'd love to know where.
Right on the order form.
Yeah.
Dan and George sent you. It's the best way to do it.
Thanks again, Harlan.
Thank you, Harlan. All right. Well, that was actually fairly concise this week. Sometimes we just go on and on and on and on.
Sometimes I just don't talk, and then we can get it over with a lot faster.
That's true. All righty. But back to Paul Pape, who's sitting there patiently next to George there going, what on earth are these guys talking about? Anyway, but we're going to get into talk a little bit about technology. It's like, what kind of advice do you have for voice actors? And you were telling me technology, which of course we took as a great compliment.
Right. In the ADR field, you don't need to worry about it as much because you're typically working in studios. You're not working in your home. You can do ADR at home. In fact, George and I have explored that idea for voice replacement. But typically, you don't need to worry so much about the technology. Technique, yes. As a home studio owner myself, and as a person that does commercials and does all the other gamut, I think it's incumbent upon a voiceover artist today to be technically proficient. It's not just about using your voice anymore. That was never the case, even 15, 20 years ago, because if you're not up to speed technically, a lot of times you're not going to work. You know, and they've come to expect it now. They're very entitled in that regard. You know, they're not going to pay you for your studio, but they expect you to do it. And I do a lot of little extra things for the people that I work for now that I've established relationships with people, whereas I'll do a master session and then I'll tell them, give me 15, 20 minutes extra and I'll go through and cut out all the chatter in between so they just get straight takes. You know? And I'll just give them. You know, some people won't do that. They'll just send them the raw thing and make them go through it. But if you will do that for them, I'll take out obvious breaths here and there and marry it all for them. It makes their editing time. It cuts down on their editing time, saves them money. They love it. It's a cleaner track to work with because they don't need all the direction in between. They just need what they're getting. So
I think the expectation now is that you have to do that at least in most of the lower budget jobs for sure.
And the expectation's getting greater and greater. When I was in these political ads that I've started to do now, they're on such a time crunch most of the time.
Oh yeah.
That the more you can do to deliver them a clean product, you know, just drop it in. That literally that ad could be on the air by the next day. You know,
that's job security.
Or it's got
for you. That's job security because they love working. It's not just your talent. The talent's a lot of it, but when you're easy to work with and you give them a product that they can use with very little or no effort at all,
a seamless product, I like to call it.
Something seamless. They love that.
Oh yeah, and you deliver them basically something they could just go from take to take to take to take, and
it's such a slippery slope, right? I mean, because it used to be you just bleep, bleep, Zephyr, or you just send in a recording. But, as it's getting more competitive, you're having to find, give something always a little extra. I mean, that's bring my dad in. My dad always said, do a little extra. But,
One thing you don't want to do, though, when you're working for money is you don't want to take creative license. You don't want to go, I don't like Take 3, so I'm not going to send that to them. That's not what they paid for. Even if they didn't particularly like it. You can clean out everything in between, breaths, you can do all that, but give them the raw material.
This is assuming that was directed over a phone patch or something.
Right. Phone patch, exactly.
Okay.
If it's an ISDN session, you're not driving, that's not your problem.
Exactly.
It's on their end. But if I'm assuming a phone patch session.
How much of a ratio of phone patch to ISDN, if you could come up with anything, half and half or mostly phone patch?
Well, it depends on who you're working with. Like one of the agencies that I'd worked with in Washington, I was one of the voices of the Obama campaign, and one of the agencies I worked with did $47 million of business during the thing. So they had their full-time guys working it, so that was almost strictly ISDN.
Nice.
Straight on.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. Oh, I love that part. Yeah, do my work, and I just walk out. No, I love that part.
Yeah.
It's a little daunting in that there's more people in the room, can get in the room.
It's more pressure.
It's a lot more pressure.
I always say that when you go to ISDN or Source Connect, it separates the man from the boys a bit because it's no longer, we'll edit that later, or you going, I'll just send them a better version later. No. It's
legal's got to call in here. We got to check the copy on that.
Yeah, it's the real deal.
Then there's that. Hey, Paul, can you hold on a second? We just want to talk here, and you just like. You're in this little booth 3,000 miles away.
You're twiddling your thumbs away.
Yeah, and you're wondering, like, is it me or is it...
I walked into a client studio where they're just sitting there, and I'm like, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Yeah. You just kind of develop this... You're like Woodrow Wilson would have liked this. We become completely isolationist in that way.
Or if you're Bill Ratner, you're taking... If you're Bill Ratner, you're taking another job on FTP, and you're...
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy jumbles.
And if you're Joe Cipriano, you're doing that, and you got your Facebook thing going all at the same. Now there's a guy that knows his technology.
He knows how to network too.
Boy, he knows it all.
Yeah. What kind of equipment do you have in your studio?
Well, George helped me build it. So we've got a Mackie mixer. We're working still with that PreSonus.
Eureka?
Yeah, which is a really nice little preamp. And I've got a 416.
One right here.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Which is I've got, let's see, I've got the Tele Zephyr that as my codec, and we've got I've got a situation set up where I'm running off a Mac portable or PowerBook that's actually got a cable that runs along with the audio snake around behind the desk that I have set up, which I stand up at my desk, so I don't sit. So I can stand up.
Just
It was custom built, so I could stand there. And I have a monitor there, so I can literally don't have to turn around and look at the computer. I got a full-on Apple monitor where I can track everything right there in front of me. And then we mounted a BX5A speakers on either side, the audio M audios.
Right.
And I mentioned the mics, TL-102, the 416.
416, right.
U87s, and I got a couple others that I play around with, an SE-2000A, which is not a good mic for the money.
Yeah, actually, that's a pretty good mic.
And then I've got, I have a booth. I have a custom booth built that's triple layered because I'll get gas blowers around my house too. I'm in a room off my garage, so but it's really well isolated. I also have a sound sound curtains made that knock it down another 20 dB of any outside interference. So did I describe it all? Was that all there?
Yeah. What's your favorite mic?
Well, the 416 is the go-to mic. It just is. You could play around with it a little bit, but you can't deliver a cleaner sound. And being a Sennheiser Neumann endorsed artist now, it's easy for me to endorse it because it's a great mic. I mean, you just can't beat it. I like the U87 when I need a little more resonance, when I want a little, for a trailer or something. I really enjoy I love the way that mic makes my voice sound, but I can't use it for everything. I just can't.
It's not forgiving.
It's not very forgiving in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's another topic that you want to come on and talk about. I know you're doing the Media Blitz this week.
Yeah.
But you were one of the co-founders of the Don LaFontaine voiceover lab over at the SAG-AFTRA building, which we've been in. We were there last year together, and beautiful facility. But there's an annual fundraiser that you're with. What's that all about?
August 24th, we're having our third annual Poker Classic, which is all the benefits of which go to the Don LaFontaine Voiceover Lab. The voiceover community, which raised $250,000 to build the lab, that was matched by the foundation with an additional $250,000. It's a $500,000 facility. Still needs operating funds. So we, as a community, have pledged to raise at least $50,000 or more a year. We're lucky to get grants that are equal to about $80,000. We get some personal donations. And between that and what we raise with an event like this, we're actually one of the few programs that the foundation has, if not the only program, that's almost virtually self-sufficient at this point. However, it takes upkeep. There's upgrades that need to be done occasionally. We would like to add in, we have built into it, George could tell you, because he was one of the three of us that put this together, and he designed the studio. We have these. The room is wired for webcams. It's got 6 different stations.
I think we got 9 different wired points in the studio.
We would like to get to the point where we raise enough money so we can now put those cameras in and the switching equipment and all that kind of thing, so that this kind of a thing, we could do classes nationwide, so people can be sitting in on classes because we can only fit 15 at a time. That's the idea, is take this thing full on out there. And there's going to be another one we're looking to build in New York. The plans are already underway. I think Chicago's interested, Nashville's interested. The thing's been a huge success. So all of this fundraising helps us to invest in the lab, which is there to help develop our future voiceover artists. And those current ones help them work on their skills,
Oh, there's a lot of sponsors too, and I mean, K Earth is sponsoring 94.7 The Wave.
Vegas.com is back again. Fiji Water. We're James Arnold Taylor, who's a tremendous animation voiceover director. He's come on as one of our major sponsors this year.
That's awesome.
And he's come in, and we've got
a bunch of people are sponsoring tables too. Yeah, you can sponsor a whole table. So there's Friends of Don is one of them. Friends of the Don, sorry. Primetime Voices for Children, Promo Superstars, Voiceover VIPs, Mouths That Roared. I know these names don't mean a lot to you, but these are groups of voice actors who've gotten together. And
it's being kind of billed as the voiceover event of the year, and actually that's not an exaggeration. It's true. We have all the top trailer people, promo people, ADR people. We've got folks from audiobooks, animation, Right now, we are well ahead of where we were last year. I think we've sold 14 or 15 table sponsorships at this point.
That's awesome.
If you don't play poker, it doesn't matter. You can, for $100 you come. There's a silent auction. There's music. There's food. It's a great time, and it's all on the grounds of a wonderful home out here that was built in the 1850s. So
that place is magical.
It's really, really
location,
cool.
Yeah.
So we hope everybody, if you're in the vicinity, will come because. It's going. 100% of the proceeds are going to the development of the craft of voiceovers. How can we go wrong?
I know. Just Jim Tasker, he bought a table. Yep. Voiceover Achievers, New Trails. You bought a table.
Yeah, I bought a table. Jim Tasker, he always does that every year. He's been a huge support. He steps up in a big way.
He really does.
And
Edge Studios too. And there's another name under that. My name.
Yeah.
I'm actually co-sponsoring. I'm actually with Edge Studios sponsoring a table at the Poker Classic. So
as if you haven't done enough already.
I'll be there. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. God, I wish I could be out there. I'm like always out in California earlier in August or in July or something like that when the weather's just a little hot. But I miss it every year. One of these years I'm going to get out there for this thing.
Right.
sagfoundation.org. Mm-hmm. And then you click poker on the menu or just sagfoundation.org/poker classic.
And if you're in the LA area, be listening to K-Earth or The Wave 94.7. There's going to be ticket giveaways.
Oh, cool. I didn't know about that.
People will be coming. Yeah, there's all kinds of cool prizes, trophies, fully paid trips to Las Vegas, all kinds of stuff.
Sweet.
We just hope people will come and support it and have a good time. It's a pretty cool thing.
Can we get some questions from the chat room?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. I recognized a few names on there.
We got some.
So please,
it's almost a who's who of voiceover in our chat room.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Andy Barnett asks, can you talk about improv training and what it's done for your career?
Oh, it's huge in the ADR field. I mean, you really have to be able to think on your feet. These stages are very expensive, and you have to be able to come up with things that not only match the story that you're telling somehow, but they somehow sound real, they sound genuine. As I was talking before with the effect, there are some really good improv schools in New York and LA. I could not emphasize improv training enough in that field. The Groundlings out here, the Improv Club itself in New York. Anything you can do along the lines of improvisation is definitely a leg up in the ADR field for sure. And actually in voiceovers in general, it can come in handy.
Yeah. And Pat's Voice, our great friend up in Toronto, he says expand on those skill sets needed for ADR. Now, you just talked about improv. What else?
Well, I always refer to it as the old days. I guess I've been around a long time. But in the old days, we had to work, when we would do sync, we had to work to streamers. Streamers, where these white lines, some of you may know, go across the screen. When they hit the other side, that's when your cue was. And if I was going to be replacing somebody's voice or something, that streamers in that time was the equivalent of 3 beeps today. That was eventually replaced by electronic beeps, which were an offshoot of pops, weren't they? Pop tracks or something.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, you learn to go on the imaginary 4th beep. Sync is an important skill to have in ADR because we often replace actors' voices and you just don't know because he's doing it here. I'm watching him do this. He threw me. Say there's an actor that doesn't work out on the set. He's just doing a minor role or something, and they're not happy with it. Well, in the back of their minds, they're thinking of somebody like me because they cannot afford to go back and reshoot the film. It's too expensive.
Sure.
So they'll bring in a hired gun they'll usually give that actor a chance to recreate it in the studio to get what they want. But if not, they bring in somebody like me that's going to actually put the performance into their mouth. You see it all the time. You just don't know it. If it's done right, it doesn't look like a bad Japanese movie that's being done.
Speaking of bad Japanese movies, have you seen the thing called Drunk History on Comedy Central?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's like ADR in reverse, where they have a drunk comedian tell some relatively accurate historical story. There goes the sirens. But then they have people reenact it in period costume and everything, and they're all comedians doing all these parts.
Oh, that'd be fun.
But all the comedians on camera are playing it straight, and they're lip syncing with what the comedian is saying, right? So they're doing it as close to, it is really funny. Check it out. It's like totally the reverse of what you're thinking of.
Whereas we have to hit sync today is still important.
Yeah.
But it's not as you can be slightly off because thanks to Pro Tools you can slide it back in place as long as you get the read correct, But it's still important. Yeah. Voice matching, there are people that really are very good at. For instance, you do an airline version of a film. The star is not going to come back and replace some offensive language for the airline version. Very few will. So they'll bring in people that could do voice matching. And they'll come in and they'll replace an offensive word so they could show it on the airline. And person just matches their voice, and then they do it. So, but you need to be able to match performance.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone ever seen that done really, really well. It's like, they blooped that one out, didn't they?
Well, there are some guys that are pretty darn good at it.
Better.
And we've all seen comics be good mimics, and they can nail that voice exactly. But that doesn't mean they can necessarily act with their voice in the context of a film.
Right,
so that's where voice acting comes in. So not only do they have to match, but they got to match what that performance was that they were doing so that it does flow seamlessly together. So that's there's a million different colors with ADR in that regard. You've got to be able to read perspective. Say you're on the tarmac at a military base. Well, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to George like this and expect, with the jets winding up all around us or, stuff going on or jets taking off. So you have to be able to read perspective, be able to understand the environment and speak to it because it's kind of a false reality. In reality, if you're standing on the deck of an aircraft carrier, you're going to be speaking a lot louder than I'm speaking right now. And it's always better to err on the side of too loud where they can dial it back than it is too little where they can't bring it up without it interfering. So, anyway, any other questions? I hope that answers your question. Man.
I think that was pretty much it. But
I think we addressed Sandy's already. Sandy McKee had asked about do you work from your studio? We talked about that.
It can be done.
ADR is still who knows if we'll ever do it from home studios. It's such a high touch, intimate.
Well, it can be done. I think Source Connect is going to make a difference when it really gets mainstream. Because when you and I were talking about it, I own that equipment now, the Dolby fax machines that the studio has. It's possible to do it, but you need 2 sets of ISDN lines, one carrying time code, one carrying the audio. Then you've got to somehow get a QuickTime, drop it all into Pro Tools, get everything synced up, so you can do it. But if you're going to do sync, you got to have that.
It's a lot of prep.
Yeah, I can't just look at a picture from home. I might be able to do it and then send it to them if I could marry it for them. But they typically in the ADR they want to be there directing you.
Yeah, Soundstreak might change that. Have you played with Soundstreak yet?
No, I haven't. I don't know.
Soundstreak is something where they send you the video in advance, and it works like Source Connect kind of where it's over the internet, but it plays this playback in sync with the picture on your end plays in sync. And they're recording on their end and you're recording on your end at the same time. So when you're done that take or whatever, they will record all the takes on both ends, but the recording on their end is just sort of a reference. Right. It's not the quality recording.
Right.
On your end, the high quality audio is being captured.
Right.
Then at the end, they just buy the takes they want. I want
but
that
you're
one
locked,
and that one and that
you're
one.
Locked.
Everything's locked.
So then all you're doing is sending them a master that they've already got.
And you don't have to do anything. When the session wraps, the file gets automatically FTP'd, so to speak, in the background.
There's the future. It'll be possible to do this.
It's going to take a while, but when it comes...
But that's individual ADR will be able to be done that way for individual lines and replacement.
But
when you're going to talk group, you need the immediacy, the ability to improvise together.
Same with animation, man. There's nothing like being in a room with the actors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One last question here from the lovely Judy Greenberg.
Cool.
She says, how do you get ADR work? She never sees any auditions for it.
Yeah.
You probably won't. And it's not meant to throw you off.
They're not on Craigslist.
It's not meant to dampen your any enthusiasm you might have for it. It is a very difficult thing to break into. People get a break through a producer they know, or they find their way into. There's a million different ways to get in. I wouldn't want to be starting out in it now. I was one of the first people to ever do it, so I kind of came up with it, with the skill. But once you're in, that skill set needs to sort of be there, even if it's in a raw form. And if that's the case, they're always looking for somebody good, but it's not something you could just go to an audition for. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. People will come in and observe for a while. Then they'll try to get up and do it a little bit. They'll put them in the background of a crowd thing just to get a feel for
you have to sort of apprentice.
Level of all. Yeah, you got to go through a bit of an apprenticeship to get there.
Right.
But if you're lucky enough to get in there, it's good. And it's a growing. I will say this: it's a growing field. More and more people are coming in, but it's not. It looks like it's easy to do. It's not an easy skill to get a handle. It'll take you a few years to really get good at it.
Sure, just like anything. I mean, in voiceover, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Boy, that's a lot of stuff you gave us there, Paul. I mean, that's so much more than you gave us last time, but we only had you for 10 minutes last time.
Well, I really don't mean to dash anybody's hopes in that area. It's important to be somewhat realistic about it because it is such a different area of voiceovers. You just got to know what you're getting into, but if you want it, don't let it stop you. If you're really into it.
Yeah, just get yourself in there and make your breaks.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being with us, Paul. It's
good
been
to see you guys.
Great talk. It's been great seeing you, and
thank you, man.
Hopefully I'll get to see you next week when I'm in town.
Good. I hope we'll see everybody August 24th.
Absolutely.
For the poker list. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you much.
All right. We've got a little bit left here, so stay where you are. We'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop.
VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
Welcome back to EWABS. We were expecting you, but we still didn't bake a cake. Here's Dan and George.
We're back. This is my front. This is my back. All right. Anyway, while we're on the subject of VoiceOver Extra, I have to talk to you a little bit about VoiceOver Virtual, which is coming up September 18th through the 20th. If there's lots of conferences out there, but if you can't travel to one, here's one you can get to from any place on the face of the earth if you got an internet connection. It's a giant online voiceover conference. We have over 50 great speakers, top coaches and technology stuff and business-oriented material. Great half-hour lectures available online. You'll be able to ask questions live afterwards in a chat room with the person speaking on some occasions. I know we're going to do another audio masters roundtable from there, George. That's going to be great. We're going to do that one live.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
But stuff about audiobooks and business and marketing and career stuff and home studios and voice acting, and it'll be available for 2 months afterwards. So all the way almost till December, you'll be able to get any one of these lectures. So they're really, really cool to have. So go over to voiceovervirtual.com and check it out and sign up because we want to see you there, even if it's virtually. But it's almost like being there.
I know people keep asking me, am I going to see it VoiceOver Virtual? I'm like, virtually.
Yeah, well, it's virtually. Yes, we'll virtually be there.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Anyway, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And having seen some of the presentations so far and working on some of them, I think you're going to think it's absolutely great. And you're going to learn an awful lot from that. So
you're working hard at stepping up the presentations to keep them really interesting and informative.
These are all interesting people, and they all have interesting things to say.
Sure.
And we want to make sure that it's high-quality stuff for you guys. So go on over to voiceovervirtual.com. Let's see. What else we got here tonight? Well, of course, we got VoiceOver Peeps next week. Don't want to forget that.
That's right.
Looking forward to that like nothing else. And, of course, I also have to take care of my mom's house. I do have to I have to replace the filter in my mom's, the water filter in my mom's refrigerator. That's the real reason I'm coming to California.
You're one expensive handyman.
That's right. She could call the Culligan man to do it, but no, could you come out and do that? Absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot of other things. And I'm sure that when you're over, George, we're going to have to both do something over there. Here, pick this up. Come on. She wants me to paint the back of the
I
house.
That wasn't work.
Oh, I know. Well, and bring Ella with you because she's going to have to help. Anyway, we have after we leave, we have an interview for you. We want you to watch. We won't be here, but we'll actually be there virtually because we did this interview with Bob Merkel from VoiceZam. And if you're interested in VoiceZam and how it works and what it is, stay tuned. It'll be on right after us. It's like a show that follows us. It's like we have our own network, right? You turned the mic down, didn't you?
I had to.
It's not just hello. All right. So anyway, we're going to call it a night here. So we need to thank all sorts of people because without them, but like Paul said, without all these people, we can't do this stuff. Of course, we'd like to thank our wives, one of which is not here, but she puts up with an awful lot of stuff. Monday nights are going to help her a lot. The lovely Mrs. Marcy Katzman-Leonard. And, of course, Amy, George's wife, and Larry Hudson and Sylvia McClure and Larry Davis and Elizabeth and Rosemary Benson and Uncle Roy for the great announcements jingle. How do you come up with that stuff? That's amazing.
We love it so much, we keep playing it over and over by mistake.
I know. It's that good, and nobody knows it. And of course, manning the chat room, we have Anthony Gettig and Catherine Curridon, who is our wonderful producer who helps us get people like Paul Pape to come on our show. She doesn't threaten them or anything; they actually want to come on.
Believe it or not,
that's right. So next week, live from Irvine, from Anne Ganguzza's living room, I will be there with George, and we're going to be there with the voiceover peeps. Tell us in the chat room. Are there any tickets left for that, Anne?
She's in there.
She's in there. We know that. Let's see if she hears me say that. Are there any tickets left for the
She's scrambling.
Great voice? She's scrambling.
Only a couple, she says.
Only a couple. So you can, if you want to be there live and you're out in Irvine or in Orange County or LA, come visit us. We want to see you.
Everywhere is driving distance in LA, even in Orange County. It's about an hour's drive for me.
Right. I'm going to put a lot of miles on next week. I can just tell. Going back and forth to L.A. and Santa Clarita and Irvine, which is right next to Orange. But anyway. So stay tuned after this. We've got this great interview with Bob Merkel about VoiceZam. And that's, it's a great little product to make sure your demo is played concisely on your website. So anyway, I'm just yambling on here.
Anyway.
I'm Dan. It's exactly 10:30. Anyway, I'm Dan Leonard, currently in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. We'll see you next week live from Irvine, California. Stay tuned for this great interview. We'll see you next week, folks. Well, welcome back. Right now we've got a great guest to talk to us about a very interesting product that is very useful, pretty specifically to the voiceover industry. So let's welcome Bob Merkel. Bob, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Dan and George. Thank you very much. And by the way, congratulations on your 100th episode. I saw that one, what was it, last week?
Yeah. And we did them one after another. We're really tired. We need a little bit of a rest. But, how long have you been in the voice business? Are you a voice actor yourself?
I tried it twice. And actually, mostly on the production side, back in the early 90s. I have an engineering background and an arts background. I was hired by an advertising company to take over some of their creative directing. And it was my job to do voice hunting. I was a voice seeker to match the scripts for what the writers were doing. And at that time, it was still cassette tape, so you can understand the grinding job of listening for voices. And I'll skip all the details, but I came up with a different way of doing it and couldn't quite bring it to market. One of the interesting stories is I took a prototype of the system down to Chicago, and the producers loved it. Then I had to wait. I had to put the project on hold because I didn't have the money, raising 4 kids. And fast forward about till 2002, finally had the time, finally had the resources, put together the prototype I told you about. Producers loved it again and brought it to market. By that time, the internet had come of age as well. So we've been in business since 2003. and they're on version 3.6 of the product of VoiceZam.
Yeah. Now, for those people who aren't familiar with this particular product, what specifically is it, and how does it benefit the average voice actor?
Excellent question. A lot of people don't quite understand it because it breaks the normal paradigm of how demos are previewed by producers or agents or casting directors. And you can see my screen. I'll give you a quick demonstration. Most of the time, when producers receive a demo, it's in a form of an MP3 file. And what they will do, they'll launch it on their desktop or their mobile device, and they'll see something like this. And I won't go through all of this because you can see it in our explainer video on voicezam.com. But the single track playback mechanism is not suitable for a multi-track presentation as a voiceover demo is. And that's what VoiceZam is.
So when you mean multi-track, you mean multiple cuts, one after another.
Yeah.
Correct. And multi-track is used in different ways. And I'm using it to say that within your demo, there's actual multiple tracks of different voicings that the voice actor has to do.
Right.
And a lot of times producers will listen to, and I was one of them, you listen to the first 20 seconds or even the first 10 seconds, you think, oh, I kind of know this person. But many people have very, very different voices even within their commercial demos. And by clicking on the multiple tracks, a producer can quickly go through a demo. They can engage with it and have a better interactive experience with it. So it kind of opens up the demo.
Yeah, so it actually breaks down your existing demo into different parts and different parts of the demo.
Yes, we do that. When you sign up, we take your existing demo and we break it into its individual parts. We have a demonstration here on our website, What is VoiceZam? And here's Chris Mazzalesto. So Chris signed up, gave us his demo, and now we've broken that into its different parts.
Seen anything like this
so here's
before.
the first track,
It's more
the second track, the third track, and so on. So what that really does for the producer is opens up a whole new world of them engaging with your demo. If they don't necessarily like your first voice,
You've never seen anything
they
like
can cut it short and go to the second one. And the problem with the existing demos, they can't do that because they don't know where the start of the second
I mean,
track.
you're basically stuck having to hope that very, very first clip is the one that sells them. And if it isn't, that's it.
They can move on.
Yeah.
And they can just keep going. And we track the hits from users, and we can see exactly how far they go. And most of them go right to the end because they have that flexibility.
So what essentially can happen here is a producer is going to go to this particular program and see, your demo divided up. And if they have a specific client or they are a specific client with a specific product, they don't have to necessarily listen to all the different cuts on your demo. They can find one that is similar and at least start there and perhaps speed up the process a little bit.
Exactly. And the great thing about the VoiceZam layout, which I call stack tracks, if you want to call it that, is this track, Beneful, can be, if you want it to be, 20 seconds. Because if they don't like the first few seconds, they can jump forward. But if they do like it, they can stay to the end or click forward. They can peruse the whole thing and then keep going to the other tracks. So you can actually, if you sum the total of all these tracks, it can be greater than a minute. The whole 1 minute barrier, don't keep it above 1 minute. The problem with that directive that's been given to the voiceover community is in my opinion, and you'll see I can prove this, it's attacking the wrong side of the equation. It's attacking the demo when really the problem is the player. The player is what's fighting the producer, and the VoiceZam player allows them to engage, and it kind of opens up a new world where they can stay glued to it longer. And of course, that's good for the voice talent because they're hearing more of their voices, more reads.
That makes perfect sense. So how easy is it? I mean, obviously, you want people to sign up and use the service. How easy is it to actually get your voice on there and go through the process of being part of VoiceZam? And how do you add it to your website?
Okay, let me demonstrate that. All you have to do is go to our membership page and you answer, I think, 7 questions or enter 7 fields. And one of them is a link to my voiceover demo. And another one is a link to my website or online portfolio. And that gives us a picture of what level you are in the industry. And we also ask you to submit 3 recent voiceover jobs because we're looking for people not necessarily fully established, but who are established, who have some track record, they're committed. VoiceZam is not for new folks trying to get in. you need a professionally produced demo that you can give us so that you can utilize our tool. Then once you submit that, we take that demo, we break it into reads, and we send you a activation code. You sign up, you're in, and the first thing you know is you're online. And what you get is something that looks like this. Of course, it doesn't have the titles in because you put that, you title them. But as soon as you activate, we show you your online demo. It's there. Then you can log in and add new reads. You can add new demos. You can set up your contact information, which I'll show you with that real quick. So here we have Dean Wendt showcased on the front of our website. This is an actual player of Dean. And if we go to his website, I can do that for you.
It's nice because the profile is like a miniature version of the web. I mean, you can get all the contact information on the talent right off the profile, right in that menu.
Right off the profile. And the reason it looks like this is my design. Well, I didn't do the actual graphic design, but what I told the graphic designer is I want something that looks like you can hold in your hand, because eventually it's going to be an app.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, actually. That's coming soon?
I won't say soon, but it's coming. It's definitely in the works.
It's in the works.
One thing about Dean's Player here is that you can cross-sell to all your other demos. So a lot of producers, and I was one of them, saying, they can do commercial work, but how is their, let's say, their promo work? So we go to promo, hit click, or play. Count tonight, and then you can start going through this. Desperate. And then the other thing, once you like the talent or you want to get an audition, you click on the plus sign. And here we have their social media up here, or their different agents and representation, or you can contact them directly. Let's say Joey Speakeasy just signed up. And what he's going to look like, what his page will look like, is something like this, right? So he's got his normal players. We've all seen this. We're going to turn it into this eventually. But to get there, we first need to sign up. Sign in. So I've already signed up. My demo's been processed. I've activated. And please slow me down or speed me up if I'm going too fast or slow.
No, it's good so far.
You're fine. I'm using a test talent. His name is actually Joey Speakeasy. It's shiny. And I'm sorry you keep hearing the sound. This is the wonderful and well-known Bob Sauer. He's graciously allowed me to use his reads for this demonstration. So here he has 7 reads. And let's say Bob just did a brand new spot and he got a release and he wants to put it on his demo. So he would log in. And now we're in the showcase. And I won't go through all this completely, but you can see we have our demos here. And if I click on commercial, here are all my tracks, or my reads, we call them, lined up. So the way Bob adds a read is he knows where the MP3 file is. So we're going to say add a new read to a demo. We're going to say we want to add it to the commercial type. We choose the file. And I know we've got lots of stuff here we need to get to. So here we are. He's titled it #1 Allergy Medicine. And I won't play it for you. Just assume it could play if I played it on my machine. So now it's ready to be uploaded. I can change the title if I want to. I'll just say #1. Save it. And where did it go? Well, it went right here underneath my commercial demo. But it's offline. The reason we do that is we don't want it to immediately be online because Bob might want to retitle it or resequence it. So let's do that. He does. Or I should say Joey Speakeasy. I'm referring to Bob. So the first thing we need to do is unlock the demo. This prevents you from tampering or from changing your demo in a way that you might not want to. So we unlock. We're going to take that read and slip it up into position #2. Okay? And before I lock it, you'll see right here, nothing up my sleeve. I'm going to refresh.
This is from...
Go to the commercial demo here. Oh, it's offline, so I can't show it to you. What I'll do is I'll put it online and then unlock it.
So when it's unlocked, it's offline.
It's offline.
Right.
Unavailable at that time.
Makes sense.
Yep. So here it is. It's shiny, it's blue, Super Bowl on Sunday. So we'll go back to the showcase. We'll unlock. Put it online. Lock it up again. There's a little processing that goes on in the background. As soon as that's done,
This is really sophisticated, but still with an easy to understand interface.
Oh, very easy. Well, it's been in process for about 8 years.
Yeah, well, it shows. It shows. I've seen a lot of bad interfaces. This one's pretty
So there
easy.
we are. It's shiny, it's blue, and here's our new...
The #1 prescribed allergy medicine.
And then there's Super
So
Bowl.
watch the Super Bowl on Sunday.
So that's how easy it is. And I could have retitled it, too, at this point as well.
Excellent. So it is simple. And of course, you take people through the process, and that makes it, once you go through the process you just learn how, and you're able to really manage the whole thing yourself.
Correct. And we have a full tutorial here. I'll just give you an example. So let's say we wanted to add a read. Under reads, we say adding a read. And it's just a step-by-step simple process of how to do it.
So you can either add a read, or you can add an entire new demo.
You can add a demo. Now, there is a caveat to adding a demo. It's not, it's very easy, but there is a cost to it if you want us to add the demos. It's $29.95.
I see.
Per demo. But if you want to save that money, you can go in and if you're pretty good with an audio editor, go in and add a new read to each demo, cut it up, and add each read by yourself.
Cool. I like that you offer it as a service, but you don't need it if you know how to do it yourself.
And it surprises me how many people use it, and I realize time is money for a lot of these folks. So for $29.95, it's easier for us to do it, and we're happy to do it.
Cool. Excellent. So if someone wants to try your service, I see you offer a 15-day free trial on it. Just go over to VoiceZam.com.
VoiceZam under membership, and just start it up. You get a 15-day trial. And one thing I wanted to mention before we're done here is VoiceZam, I think there's a little bit of a misconception out there that it's only a player. And you can see there's a lot of power behind it. There's Zamtistics behind that. And if I could demonstrate that, I would do it too.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is what's called a ZAM link. And so Joey Speaky has a ZAM link. It would be your professional name .voicezam.com. And you can send this out in an email. And as long as people get it and click on it, they get the player like this. So they have the unitized player. So if we went to Dean Wendt, he has a ZAM link as well. I won't demonstrate that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you folks, I'm going to drop this in my text box. And I'd like you to click on it on your own machine. Let's say I just sent it to you. Click on it in your own machine. And click on a few demos, switch demos if you want. Just get an idea. While you're doing that, I'm going to show you a demonstration of what you can do with your ZAM link. Because VoiceZam is it's the replacement for your demo. And this is really important. It's not just a player. It's a replacement for your demo. And if you guys remember a bunch of years back, the demo was a first-class player in this industry. And I think because of the problems that the player has introduced and a lot of the people attacking the demo and saying you have to keep making it shorter and shorter and shorter, it's kind of become this second-class player. Yeah, I kind of got a demo and I need to update it. And it's not that important anymore. But when you think about it, it is really your business calling card in the voiceover industry. I think the emphasis has gone to websites. You really need a website. Okay, you do need a website, but what producers will tell you is they want to hear your voices first, and then they want to get to know you. So you want your voices forward wherever you can, and then to get to know you, they'll look at your website. So let me show you something that one of our clients has done. Her name is Roxanne Hernandez-Coyne.
Of course, Roxy.
And she has put on the bottom of her emails a signature which looks like this. So it's listen to my demos, and this is if she wrote a email to you, hi Dan and George, lorem ipsum dolor, she knows Latin now, fantastico Roxanne. So here she's put 3 graphics of listen to my demo, and what I did is I sent this to myself, and I'm mocking this up, of course. So now I'm in my inbox, and I've just received this. Well, look how this I can't point, but look how this stands out. So let's say I wanted to hear commercial English. If I click on this link,
New Ghirardelli
up pops Roxanne's player.
Discover the
And now the producer can see exactly what she's done, and it can cross-sell to other demos. He can look at her website if he wants to. But this is a quick way that you can embed your ZAM link, and that's why it's important, into your email. What's most important about it is you can start using VoiceZam. A lot of people say to me, my website's not ready. I'm redoing it, or I'm going to redo my demos or whatever. This is a way that people can quickly get started by pushing their demo out there, and that's what you need to do. It's kind of like me. I can design the greatest system like this, but if I don't tell people about it and get it out there and get it in front of people, they'll never know about it. And it's the same struggle that voiceover artists have.
Oh, yeah, marketing. I mean, for example, it's taken me for a while to hear about your service. So it's a prime example of how important marketing is.
Exactly. And that's really what the demo should do. It should lead your marketing to show producers who and what you are. Maybe you're not for somebody, but at least they heard you. And the cool thing about the ZAM link is they can take it and they can move it into their favorites if they want. And they'll always have that available, because whenever they go here, it'll come up right to the player.
Wow. That's really powerful. Now I completely understand it. Makes sense. And hopefully our audience does too.
So, in a nutshell,
if you have any questions, just write me. I can certainly show you that.
In a nutshell, the embedding, is it any different than like embedding a YouTube video on a web page, or is it more complex than that?
A YouTube video, it's a little more complex, but let me take you through that. So here we have, I think I showed you this before, the pre, and here's the post. What we're going to do is we're going to make changes in the HTML to go from this to this. And so I'm going to use a file that I've already prepared called work.vz. And what it is, it's the starting state of this website. And our tutorial, we have another tutorial which says embedding VoiceZam. And developers love it because it takes them step by step of where they need to drop code. And really, it's just object code. And I'll show you how we do that. I use a tool called Visual Studio 2012 because of my development background. And here is the source behind this file, all right? So the first thing you need to do is you need to drop some code, which we show you what it is. And when I'm dropping code, I'm just going to uncomment it. So blah, 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 it has your account number in it. It's going to refer to Joy Speakeasy website, and we show you what each one of these parameters are. You can have it autoplay. You can show the contacts button if you want. There's a lot of options here.
Right.
So we uncomment that. So now I'm going to save it. I'll hit Control S. And look what happens. The player shows up.
Cool.
Okay, so that was easy. The second thing we need to do is we need to put something at the top to make the player play. So I'm going to uncomment this area of code. That's going to give us some JavaScript buttons. And there they are. And now it's actually functional. So if I hit narration,
it could be our mothers.
It launches the narration demo. If I hit commercial,
it's shiny.
It launches the commercial demo. But we don't want these old players there because we know that's old technology by this time. So let's comment those out. I hope I'm doing this right.
Yeah, and this is stuff that if you're not a web person or this stuff scares the heck out of you, then you ask your web person to help you with this.
Exactly. And as you can see, unless you get into some complex websites, most HTML programmers can handle this. And there you have it. So there's the site. When I click on commercial, it plays. When I click on narration, it plays. So I did that in 3 steps. Now, you'll know I cookie cuttered a lot of this, but at least I showed you the simplicity of it. And that's what's written up in all the tutorial, all the steps for what I just did.
All right. Well, it's an amazing piece of software. Now that I understand it, maybe I'll actually give this a shot and talk to my web guy and say, how do we do this? And
thank you.
He makes it real simple for me. So,
well, before we let you go, tell us what it costs.
The cost right now is, because we've just dropped our price, you can read about it here, is $8.95 per month for the base, and that gives you everything listed here, the whole ZAM link and all those items, the context tab, everything is included except Zamtistics. And by the way, let's do this.
Show us that, yeah. Show us Zamtistics real quick.
Okay, so let me get to... I'll log in again.
This is essentially going to show you who's using your site, what they're listening to, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Now, we didn't get them all. I'm not sure why, but somebody here clicked on, it was Dan and G. What that means is, Dan and G, I want to show you what that means. We can put a parameter, and you can do this from inside the showcase. You don't have to add code like this. We put Dan and G on the back of here, P equals. What that says is whenever anybody clicks on this player that's been sent out with Dan and G, in my Zamtistics, wherever it went. So what happened was that player sends back Dan and G. And why is that important? Well, if I send it out to an agent or producer, I can see what they clicked on, how long they clicked on something. It gives me some feedback. And Zamtistics are important because it's no longer send and pray. You know, sending out your demo, even an MP3 file, you'll never know if it went into the bit bucket, if they listened to it, what happened. At least this gives you some feedback to show you what they clicked on. And I'm finding for a lot of talent, it's really encouraging to see that they've just at least been heard. And it makes, you know, marketing is hard and making those sales calls and sending your demo out is difficult. Well, this encourages you even more. So that's how Zamtistics works. And there's a lot more to it. You know, you can do it hits by demo. You can show which demos have been hit. The blue means it's been downloaded, so people can download individual reads.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Cool.
I can see the value of that. I'm always looking for data to see how something is working and where I need to make adjustments and things along those lines. And that kind of data is absolutely vital. So it's great that that's part of the program.
A great story, I'll just interject real quick, is Chris Mezzalesta sent out, he did an email blast and found out that people were dropping off the first read. And so he moved that read to the second read, and then people were staying through his whole demo. I mean, I don't know how you could get that kind of intel. He'll tell you about it too. He's a good.
Oh yeah, we know Chris.
We know Chris really well.
He knows all about VoiceZam. The last thing I'll show you before we go is here's my Facebook business page, which is totally tricked out, as you can see. And the only thing I want to show you here is right down here we have a custom button, and when I click on it, now we have Facebook showing my player.
So watch this.
So if you have a Facebook business site, I think that's what it's called, business page. Thank you.
You can link your VoiceZam right to your Facebook page.
You can embed your VoiceZam player right there, and it's fully complete. And the tab button or the contact button is turned off on this player. But that's it.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, Bob, thanks for showing this to us. I mean, everybody's been hearing about it, and now all of our audience understands what it is and how it works. And hopefully they'll all flock there right now. But as you said, it's easy to sign up, and you offer a 15-day free trial, so everybody should run down there and at least give it a shot.
Give it 15 days, and even who can't afford $9 to give this a shot? Most people will find as soon as they start using it, producers love it. They love the fact that they don't have to be hostage in a linear playback world anymore. It opens up a whole new world for them interactively.
Right. Well, Bob, thanks for being with us today on East West Audio Shop and demonstrating VoiceZam for us, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Well, welcome back. Right now, we've got a great guest to talk to us about a very interesting